Hi, this is Kris Ferris, and this is Featured Artist Series. Welcome back. Thank you, Ellen Ciompi, for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
Ellen is going to be singing later on this evening at the Showcase of Original Music, so that's kind of cool. We're actually doing this in the library at the Creative Center, which is a different area for us, and we thank the Creative Center for letting us do this here this afternoon. I'm really intrigued to know how you got your interest in cabaret music then.
I think, as I said, my mother always is a singer, and she always had music on in the house when I was growing up, and she loved the great singers. She listened to Frank Sinatra, and she listened to Tony Bennett, and she listened to Harry Belafonte, and she listened to just about anybody who sang that kind of music.
Sure.
And she also was a great listener to Broadway musicals. And that was what I grew up listening to and what I loved. And there was also a piano bench full of old music that once I learned how to play piano, I would pick through that. And
yeah.
It just struck a chord with me.
It's amazing that a young girl didn't pick up on rock and roll or, you know.
Well, I started taking piano lessons when I was 8. That was my birthday present when I was 8, was that after years of nagging, my parents finally said, okay, you can take piano lessons. And so I was getting classical training, and I was listening to classical music, and this just seemed to fit with what I was learning musically more. There are great swaths of music that I really should know because I was at a impressionable age when it was popular, and it's amazing how much of it I don't know.
Obviously, you were meant to be where you are, right? That's the way we have to look at it. If you live in the Raleigh-Durham area, you've probably heard of the Ciompi Quartet, which is a string quartet that was founded by my father-in-law. He was brought down to Duke University by Mary Duke Biddle, specifically to start a quartet because she and her husband were great philanthropists and patrons of the arts, and they felt that this would enhance the university. He was brought from Cleveland to start this quartet, and that was in, I think, 1962. Right. And it has been in existence ever since. Ever since, that's right.
Unfortunately, my father-in-law died in 1983, but they've kept the name.
Yeah, apparently very popular still. So, tell me, what's your ultimate goal with your music?
Ultimate goal. I was a contestant on Jeopardy!
I know, I saw that.
And as part of the interview process, one of the things that they asked everybody was, if you won, what would you do with the money?
Right. And
what I said was, if I won a lot of money, I would like to finance a New York debut recital.
Oh, okay.
Because, you know, that takes a fair amount of change to, you know, but they're hire a hall and get a piano player and all that stuff.
So you say hire a hall, what
there are a lot of little
like
cabaret clubs in New York City. The one that I like is called the Metropolitan Room.
Okay.
It's on 23rd Street.
Not Broadway? You don't want to go right to Broadway? Can you do opera on Broadway? I mean, can you do cabaret on Broadway?
I think they have to ask you to do that.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the Metropolitan Room, if the money's green, you know, they take it.
You're welcome. So. That's cool. So that would make you happy. That would be like a dream come true.
That would make me totally happy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And then what would be the end part of the dream would be that somebody said, oh, she's really good. Let's invite her back again and not make her pay next time.
There you go. Oh, wow, what a concept. Okay, so you've mentioned that's in New York, right? That kind of segues into my next question, which is, what kind of an audience for cabaret is there locally?
One of my great challenges as a purveyor of this particular form of entertainment. Most people, when I tell them that I'm a cabaret singer, I get one of two reactions. The first one is, I love that movie. And I have to tell them, no, this is not all singing the music from cabaret.
Good.
And the other one is, they look at me askance, and I know they're wondering, like, if I strip or something.
Yes.
And I have to disabuse them of that notion also. So there's a lot of education that sort of has to go with this, but it's a notoriously very hard to define field. The best definition that I've heard of it was somebody who said, if you're an actor and you're on stage and you break that fourth wall between you and the audience, then your director will get really angry at you because you're not supposed to do that. Whereas if you're a cabaret performer and you don't break that fourth wall,
then you're no good.
Your director will get really angry at you because you're supposed to do that.
Interesting. Okay.
So the whole idea is interaction with the audience and taking songs that tell a story, making them personal, and making them relevant to your listeners.
Okay. That leads me to a little question I didn't really kind of give you, and that is, I noticed a couple ads you've had for shows that are in the same place. You've kind of developed a relationship. Is it the Regulator?
Yes.
Bookshop?
Yes.
You've kind of gotten something going there?
They have a wonderful downstairs space where they host readings by authors, and that is very close to the neighborhood where I live, and I'm a huge reader. I spend a lot of money at the Regulator, and
so you paid your way in, haven't
well,
you?
no, not exactly. And the gentleman, Tom Campbell, who's the owner, he also lives in my neighborhood, and it's just a wonderful neighborhood resource, and he's very receptive to local people doing things, and this has been a big thing for us to do. He usually gets people who come in early and they buy books and they hang out. And anything that will keep a local bookstore in business.
Well, anything that will keep anybody in business these days. It's all about networking on every level. It's the same for what I'm doing. That's very cool. So it's a place that people are starting to recognize. I can go see this here, and I'm sure they mark it on their calendars because they come back. That's fabulous. This is on your website too, right?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Now, you've been collaborating with Glenn Murbach for over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that collaboration, that partnership.
It's very interesting. Because we subscribe to certain things at Duke University, we're on the mailing list, and sometime back in 2002, I got a mailing from the continuing education program, and I was looking through, and it said that they were offering a course called Singing from the Heart. And the description was, we're not going to teach you how to sing. We don't even care if you can sing. What we are going to teach you here is song interpretation. And Glenn was the teacher. And I thought, this sounds really interesting because, I've been singing my whole life, and this sounds like a really fun thing. And there were only, there were maybe 6 people who signed up for the class, and so we had this class, and it was very cool, and I learned a lot. And at the end of the class, we said, are you going to offer this next semester? And Glenn said, if we just cut out the middleman, and you come to my house and we'll make it cheaper for you and I'll keep more of it. And,
wow, interesting.
And so we sort of did that, and then the rest of the class, went away, and I've just stuck with it. And he has an amazing background. He was a touring professional cabaret accompanist for many years to a very famous singer by the name of Andrea Marcovici. And they played all over. He has pictures in his offices of him and Andrea at the White House with Bill Clinton. And a picture of the marquee at Carnegie Hall saying Andrea Marcovici here. And
wow.
Yeah, so I'm floored that there is somebody of his experience and talent in Durham, and that we found each other.
And you get to work with him.
I know,
yeah,
it's totally amazing.
Yeah.
He's also one of these ridiculous people that I'm sure if you said to him, I'd like you to play the Moonlight Sonata in B flat like a tango, he could do that.
Wow. So, you have 2 degrees in music, and I notice you have a degree in nursing. Is that true?
Yes, that's how I earn my living.
So, is it tough balancing lives?
I've gotten to the point in my nursing career that I have a little bit of seniority that I can throw around. Not much.
You got a little weight. Yeah,
but
you can throw around.
I can pretty much, I have a lot of control over my schedule, which makes that part of the balance very interesting, very easy, I mean. And the balance part, it's very hard to explain. I, as a nurse, and especially an operating room nurse, which is my specialty, I've seen everything. I've seen birth, I've seen death, I've seen horrible accidents and trauma. I have assisted on organ transplants, you name it. And I think that the two things inform each other.
Really?
I think that having seen all of these horrible and wonderful things that happen to us frail human beings, that it helps enhance what I'm singing about in a lot of ways. And I think the fact that I have an artistic side that I can tap into helps me be a better nurse too. It's very interesting.
Wow, that's very interesting. I think seeing all those horrible things would make me depressed. I guess you have to learn how to separate yourself from that a little bit.
You do. People often call it, developing a shell or being hard about it. And there's a certain amount of black humor that goes along with being in the medical profession in any way. To our eternal shame, we often talk about, the gallbladder in room 14 as opposed to the actual patient's name.
I get that.
You have to do that a little bit to protect yourself, because otherwise you would be so tapped out that you would never be able to function.
So you said a little bit about it helps you express your music maybe a little differently or more fully, but does the music also act as therapy for that too? Can it kind of pull you out of that?
If I didn't know that I could sing at the end of the day, I don't know what I would do. Even if it's just in the car driving home.
Yeah.
I actually have a bumper sticker on my car that says "Caution, driver singing."
I love it.
So if you ever see that, it's me.